So I didn't do much along the way during the day today. I had my camera with me, but I just didn't take it out. So, a relaxing morning, reading for a couple of hours, and then off to the last of the three 2-hour sessions I've been having at church. I keep forgetting to take these off because of the reflection. So the last of the three 2-hour sessions at church, the UU 101 class, and looking back on the 6 hours, it was worth going to. I'm glad the person who was doing the interview for me as a new church member suggested I go, because I would never have thought to go because I didn't need a 101 on UU, that's for sure. But it ended up being well worth the time. I got to meet some wonderful people, and also new to the church, and a couple of people that I think I'm going to be good friends with. So that was certainly nice. And today I got to learn about the history of the church. And did I mention this in another video? I can't remember. They somewhere in the 2005, somewhere in that range, they started meeting under a beach umbrella on the beach. I think I mentioned this to you before, because I just think it's such a quaint thing that here in a beach town, that's how they began. They just had a very colorful umbrella so they could find each other there, and then they would meet, and then they've just been growing ever since. First they started meeting in a middle school, and then they rented at the place they were last at, and of course now they've built their own church building. So I got to learn about the history and how they're organized, and the history of how they got to be where they are, currently searching for a full-time minister, and then learned about all the committees. There's a lot of committees in UU churches because they are congregationally driven. So while we belong to an umbrella organization for all of the UUs in America, each church is independent and makes their own decisions, governs their own self, and have to have quite a system of committees to get things done. Everything from getting the toilets clean, to the snow plowed off the parking lot, to building issues, to worship issues, to pastoral care issues. It goes on and on and on, and there's a committee for every one of them. And some of which I'll get involved with. I'm still bummed, as I think I told you in last night's video, after saying, well, I guess I'll have to start saying no to things. The first thing I had to say no to is something I really, really wanted to do, which is that worship committee. I love being on the worship committee at my old church. But it's drumming night. So, unless there's another drumming opportunity that I join up with, I'm not going to give that up. But there's other committees that I'll get involved in. I did sign up to be a worship associate, which is to do a reading when called upon at the church service where our minister's leading, and then to, if for some reason the minister's not available, the worship associates are the ones who will give a sermon. We used to do it more regularly at my old church because our minister was contracted to do 3 sermons a month, and then the lay people did the 4th one, and our current minister at this church is contracted to do 4, except for when she takes personal or vacation time, or when she goes to give a sermon at another church. So there's times you still need help with services. But anyway, I really liked the format and the way these 3 sessions were handled. So today I learned about how the buildings in church are run, how things get done, and then the all-important finances. Brand new church building with a mortgage and everything else. So of course this is the one where it got down to the nitty-gritty of finances and understanding where the money goes, or where it comes from, how much we get, and how much goes out. And of course the request to consider filling out a donation card for a certain amount of money. If you hear hammering in the background, our next door neighbors that side are down for the weekend. And they bought that house about a year ago, a little over a year ago. It actually had sat empty for a while. And the person who had it wasn't taking care of it, but wasn't selling it either. Eventually got around to selling it. My neighbors got a good deal on it, but it had a lot of work that had to be done. So they've been busy. What they do is, and I understand this, they work like heck on it all winter, and they do nothing all summer, except to come down and have a good time on the weekend with their family. They're good neighbors. We lucked out in that they have teenage boys who are both very interesting young men, and they're good neighbors. So after I got back from church, we waited because I had to sign for something that FedEx was delivering. I'll give a mini vlog about that when it's up and running. And then we got in the golf cart and we went riding. And that's how we spent the entire afternoon. It got warm here today. It got into the middle 60s, which is 20 degrees above where it should be this time of year, so we're not complaining about that. I would have preferred a sunny day, no matter what the temperature was, because it's been cloudy now for a couple of weeks. So I would have opted for sun myself. But I understand tomorrow is supposed to be warm and a sunny day. So I guess I'll be in my bliss tomorrow then, won't I? But today we got out and about, and we actually saw a lot of people we haven't seen since last summer. With the temperature being warm here for the weekend, people were coming down to check out their houses, to clean up, clean leaves and pine needles and clean the outside of their houses, and starting to think about getting ready for the return as they start coming back, and sometimes April, but more like May and well into June when the kids are out of school. So we saw a lot of people we haven't seen. I had the camera with me, but in all honesty, we were going from kind of house to house and chatting people to people, and there really was an opportunity to share the kind of things I normally share with you. The tiny moment at the end of this video was my only moment of really being still and at peace and away from the beloved neighbors for just a few minutes, because there was a small period of time when I was at the marina and at the pavilion at the marina, and I was by myself. And just for that moment in time, I met my friend, who I call Kingle. Yeah, it's my slang for King Gull. Kingle. So when you see Kingle at the end of this video, he's a big boy, and that's his piling. And others are allowed to be there unless he wants to be there, in which case no one challenges the King Gull, Kingle, and he sits on that spot. Now today, for some reason, he was the only gull out there. I guess his buddies were off doing some fishing, but I've named him Kingle. I know, speaking of Kingle, remember this guy that I keep giving you pictures of constantly? One of you said something, I don't know if it was here or on Facebook, about I should name him. We found out today he has a name. He has been named for several years. The assumption is it's the same blue heron, but since they're territorial and only one heron will take on a particular territory, it's possible that it's been a different gull each year. I said gull. It's been a different heron each year, but it could also well be the same guy returning. And it seems like quite some time ago, some of our neighbors named him Henry. So now we know when we see him, he's Henry. So the afternoon was chatting up an endless series of neighbors, which left Roger in his bliss and me completely and totally exhausted. So I plan on editing this video together for you, and then I plan on staying out here away from the TV. I'm so tired of people's voices at this point, and doing a little more Sudoku. The next couple of puzzles worked out much quicker for me. Hopefully I've stumbled upon something here that will actually be helpful. So after I finish here with this yattering, I will take you downtown with us. When we say we're going downtown here, we're going into the beach town that's across the bay from us, literally a quarter mile away, but to get it there we have to go around the bay, so it's about a 20-minute drive. That's town for us. It's the only town we've got. We have towns inland, but that's the closest town. And we went in searching for popcorn, and you'll find out in the video what happened with that. But we were also curious to see, neighbors that we talked to this afternoon told us that it was actually very busy in town this weekend. You know, that first sign of warmer weather, the first feeling of spring, and the day trippers will flock to the beach. And they mostly are day trippers because the hotels are basically closed except for a couple of them this time of year. But the bars are open, restaurants are open, and if it works, if it's not too dark, the clip that I took for you is as we drove down the main drag there in Rehoboth. Rehoboth is a very quaint, beautiful beach town which hasn't become big. There aren't high-rises, there aren't, I won't say they haven't modernized, but because of course they have. All the restaurants are, up to date and modern, and the bars are too, of course. And but it's managed to stay small and not go crazy like resort towns on the beach tend to. I couldn't go down onto the beach for you because there wasn't really a place to grab a parking spot. It was that busy. I wanted to go down to see if the moon was reflecting on the waves. Haven't had any luck capturing that yet because I haven't gotten down there early enough when the moon's rising. I usually get down there and the moon's already up pretty high like it is tonight. And I'd hoped maybe to be able to take a quick run down onto the ocean. Because as you'll notice, in the time I've been vlogging, I haven't shared any ocean vlogs with you. That's because when it goes below freezing, Annie don't go to the ocean. I would like to. The weather isn't something that would make me think, oh, it's not the weather I want to go to the ocean. But when it's below freezing and the wind's coming off the water, I have a problem walking. And even if I decide to use my cane and try to go for it, that doesn't work on sand. So I need it to be above freezing before I get to spend my time walking along the ocean. So you'll get plenty of that. In the not too far distant future, because the temperature is going to slowly be getting warmer now, isn't it? Speaking of which, today I saw my first, other than those crocuses that I shared the picture with you, I saw willow trees. You know how before you see anything that you can identify as the new buds in a willow tree, they start getting this yellowish, greenish look to them? Not the gray color of the winter. It seems like the whole willow itself starts changing color before the first little buds start to come out. The buds aren't there right yet, but that changing color has happened, and that's the first real powerful, strong sign of spring that I've seen. It's probably 2 weeks earlier than normal. They're usually getting their first buds, and then Metastara about that time, and then within a week, whew, they're all bloomed out. But so that was kind of neat to see today. And the sky was still filled with snow geese constantly flying over. Headed back north, we're going to assume. We have a feeling that those guys we saw, it's been a week or so or more back in a vlog, that I thought they were headed south. They must have been regrouping and getting to a spot where they would like recalibrate and go north, because the rest of them have all been going north, which is what you would expect at this time of the year. We thought it was weird those guys were flying dead south, but they may have just been getting to the place that they recognized and they could recalibrate their little radar system. So the day was a good day. Too busy for me, I have to admit. I think I'm just going to have a no computer, quiet evening tonight. And so, if it worked, I'll end this with a capture of the moon that I took. I stayed outside for a little bit to do kind of a little mini thing for myself with the moon. My camera's so bad at night and with lights that all I can say is if the next thing you see is a white blob in the middle of a black background, it's probably the picture of the moon that I tried to take. And then I'll take you into Rehoboth with us tonight, and then I will end with a picture of Kingle, the king gull. It was a good day. Now this is for everybody who watches my videos who thinks that all we have around here is all those beautiful nature scenes that I pass on to you. We're on the beach highway, headed into Rehoboth, because Roger decided we were going to see if the popcorn stand was open. If you have ever had kettle popcorn, you'll know what I mean. You can't eat popcorn out of a bag or popcorn even you make yourself anymore. It's this kettle popcorn or nothing. So, this is what the main road is really like, which we don't get on an awful lot, so you don't see an awful lot, but I wanted to share a little bit of the, it's not always about sunsets and bays and waterways and blue herons. It's a lot about this too. It really is pretty here at night. I'm watching through the camera lens and it's like, it's dang cute. Uh-oh, the popcorn place is closed. Because it's after 6. Yep.
I figured they'd be open there later.
And that's the ocean, not that you can tell. Can you hear it? Not really. Wind's not coming the right way. Popcorn place. So, just so that our trip into Rehoboth wasn't a total waste of time, I described this sign to you a vlog or so ago, maybe a week ago. This is where the man dance happens. We're closed until May. Amuse yourselves